Shalom and good day all, this is the Healing29 back again for another indie comic review or indie comics review. And in this I am covering by Rick Remender, Grommets issue 1, and of course back to McFarlane, Kingspawn issue 34. I'll now get things organised in regards to which one I'll be covering first. So one thing I want to do in this time period, give it about 10 seconds. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've probably gone a little bit fast. Is that I want to, I'll be putting in that bracket and covering some of the additional covers that are connected to this particular series, as this is actually a very interesting story. As it follows someone who is a skateboarder. We don't actually get their name in the story, which is a bit of a bummer, but I do quite the art. I do quite like the art as well as the story itself. So moving into first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to show the internal art as well as what's happening story-wise with the characters. So as the story begins, we follow the main character, to which we don't actually get the main character's name in this, though it should have actually been brought up at the beginning of the story, and sort of like the old man speaking to his son directly, mentioning his name. We don't actually get that, but we do get a conversation between the old man, as they are in Sacramento, California, and of course his old man is dropping him off at school. He does actually get to see his mum a little bit later on within the story, and of course whilst he's sort of like the new kid at school, he gets a little bit teased a bit, but he soon learns that there are sort of like other skateboarders just like him that attend there. So as we start to move towards the middle of the story, he ends up making a friend who we learn is the name of Brian, and they end up going to a place called Sierra Wave Skate Park, to which they get to see like other skateboarders or grommets in a way skateboarding together and pulling off their own fancy tricks and whatever, until of course we get to see Brian perform a couple of tricks compared to the main character, to which he gets to do some things but not a lot of things. If it's one thing that this story has already done straight away, it has grabbed my interest that I would actually want to pick up the trade paperback to it. So for the internal art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story. So first things first, do we get anything in relation to the area of time? To which we actually do, and the year is 1984. The locations that we get to see in this story, of course, we get to see that it takes place in Sacramento, California. We of course see the liquor store or the liquor drive-through, the school, the Sierra Wave Skate Park, and last but not least, the area of the cast of characters, to which we meet the person known as Brian. But we still don't get the name of the main character. There is a name that is thrown about in the story, but the way the name is thrown about in the story, it doesn't feel like it's directed to the main character in the story, because the character's name was called, the character that they sort of like threw around in the classroom was Lloyd, but Lloyd could apply to any kid in that classroom outside of the main character. And this is where the story sort of slips a bit and fails. So therefore, if we had been introduced to the character himself and what their name is, it would make better sense. So if that name was thrown around in the classroom, and that is his actual name, it makes sense that, okay, they're throwing his name around the classroom, and I've got no idea who this main character is. But for the overall story writing, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. It did interest me that I would like to come back and see the second issue. So now it's time to move into King's Spawn. So as we move into King's Spawn, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside of the cover? In some essence it does, to which I give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in the area of the internal art, as we have a look around the beginning, middle, and of course the end, and also what's happening story-wise with the character of Al Simmons. So as we start to catch up with Al Simmons, we get a bit of a discussion between himself and it's either one of his friends or his daughters, or his daughter, as to what's happening within the story. And whilst they're having a discussion, Granny Blake comes up in the discussion, and now it's up to him to sort of like try to find where she is in the story and in the picture. So as the story advances, we have Al Simmons / Spawn in a way coming to the rescue in regards to some of the situations that are happening with characters in the story. And of course he kicks some ass, really good too. And we do eventually catch up with the character of Granny Blake, and we also hear the name of Benny come up. So last but not least, after Spawn has come in to save Granny Blake and also kicked a lot of ass, we get to see towards the end of the story and look forward to what is going to be happening in the next issue. So for the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time for the area of the story. So considering how far we are issue-wise, did we get any comic book references? And sure enough, we did. We got a reference to Spawn issue 267 to 271. So this story takes place in between there. Next is the area of time, which we had 12 minutes later. The location across town was used. Of course, the cast of characters consisting of Al Simmons, Spawn, Granny Blake, and last but not least, the character of Benny. The overall story rating in this, I give a 7 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.